Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of our mini podcast, I Built a Company That Makes a Difference by B1. Here we talk to founders of sustainable businesses to get their quick takes on how and why they started their companies and some of the lessons that they learned along the way. So today we're talking to Katerina Bogatireva, the founder of Precycle, which is a zero-waste grocery store in New York, specifically based in Brooklyn. Katerina, thank you so much for joining us today. It's great to have you on.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for having me.
Wonderful. Okay, let's get into the questions. So you have a really unique and interesting founder story, not just Precycle itself, but pre-venture as well. Can you talk a little bit about yourself and how you got to the point of starting Precycle?
Sure. Well, I do have quite a few experience with being an entrepreneur. I own an art gallery in the past. But I think my story really starts to take shape when my son was born. I started to realize how much waste we're creating. It just became a little bit more obvious, and it made me sad because we need to leave this planet for future generations, and it's just it's a mess. But I think my turning point was in 2015 when my kindergartner came from school. He had a sustainability lesson, and he said, "Mommy, do you know how long the plastic will remain in the landfill?" And that was kind of like the last straw. After that, I couldn't unsee the damage we're creating around us just by simple everyday choices. And it's not necessarily our fault because it's hard. It's really hard to do. That's, I guess, when I started looking at my own waste at home. I tried to reduce it, and that meant going through a lot of trouble sourcing food from farmers markets, going to several different bulk stores. It's just really time consuming and difficult. Not impossible. I was able to cut down on the waste a lot, but it was just really difficult to do. So at that point, I started to think about how would that ideal store would look like for somebody like me that wants to make a difference. And that thought process lasted three years. It took me 3 years to plan and create Precycle, but ultimately that's where it came from, just out of my own frustration as a customer, as a consumer, with all the unnecessary waste that comes with making simple choices, simple everyday choices that we all need to make.
It's one thing when you know this as an adult. It's another thing entirely when a kid, especially your kid, comes to you and is like, puts the problem so in such stark black and white. That must have been a real moment for you. So I guess that was the impetus for starting Precycle.
Definitely was. And later on, through the process of going through eliminating the waste out of our household, he was also so supportive, and it was almost like a game. He was helping me with picking produce without the packaging and things like that. It's quite sweet.
That's
So
really
he's my
interesting.
inspiration.
Yeah. We have a lot of families on B1 who are looking for how to incorporate sustainability and the education around environmental sustainability, climate change, small things that you can do in the house, how to incorporate their kids at every age. So that's a really interesting one that will probably resonate with a lot of families out there, and parents of small kids, to say, how do we introduce this concept? How do we make sure that it comes into our house in a meaningful way? So that's good. Okay, so one question that I know we've gotten is when it comes to zero waste grocery stores, when you're just a consumer, a shopper that rocks up and is like, oh, fantastic, this is package free. You don't know, and I'm sure it's a heavy logistical labyrinth, but what goes into being package free that the average consumer just doesn't know about?
It doesn't have to be necessarily complicated. I think it's just sort of a switching mindset and starting to think creatively how to problem solve.
Mm-hmm.
For example, I know that there's this sort of misconception that going zero waste means buying expensive containers and organizing your kitchen perfectly, and then you can start doing that. And I think that's a wrong approach. I think that approach would be just sort of looking at what you already have and trying to reuse those items. How it looks like in Precycle itself. So our customers bring out their own containers, they weigh them before filling them up, and then they choose the product. And at the end, when they're ready to check out, you just you reduce the weight of the item by the tear weight. It does require effort. I think it's not as easy just as to just go and get something in the store from the shelf ready to go. Also operationally for us and for my team is a lot more difficult, a lot more complicated, but it's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
At
Mm-hmm.
the end, it's worth it.
And can you just remind me, when did Precycle open?
So we opened in 2018, late December 2018, and we were completely package free until pandemic hit in March of 2020, when we had to sort of close for in-store shopping and just do curbside pickup. Things changed a little bit. We had to get creative of how we package things for our customers. So we did paper bags and glass containers for some other items, with the idea that those containers will be taken back for reuse. We washed them, sanitized them, and reused them again. It was a very challenging time. It was a scary, challenging time for everybody. But I'm so grateful that our community just supported us, and we pushed through. We reopened back to normal operations in July of 2021. But we learned a lot from pandemic. So that's one of the things that going forward, Precycle is sort of evolving into a more convenient way of shopping for customers. I can explain a little bit more. We're opening another location in Brooklyn as well, and this one is going to be more focused on just sort of a grab and go concept. So customers will come in, they already pre-filled jars, and they will buy them, then bring back the jars to receive a reward.
Oh, congratulations! A second location. That's a big deal.
Thank you.
Cool. Well, I know one thing that also our audience was interested to know is, how do you evaluate and ultimately select which producers you work with, how you source your product, and what actually makes it onto your shelves?
It's a great question. So that's one of the reasons why it took so long to actually open the store. The first store is because it wasn't easy to find vendors that sort of offer bulk options and some sort of a reasonable packaging, because it was clear from day one that if we get, I don't know, liquids in gallon jugs that are also plastic, and we just recycle, put them in a curb recycling, that just kind of defeats the purpose. It's a little bit better than smaller packagings, but it's still quite harmful for the planet. So the way we pick is we generally try to give priority to locally grown or made products. And recently we started working more with small businesses that want to be circular, meaning that let's say if they make the pasta sauce, they also would like to take those jars back and reuse them. That reduces their cost, and also, obviously it's better because we use the packaging. And our customers in store are very supportive of that, sort of like used to it, just bringing them back. And I think that's the direction we're sort of headed right now, and the type of vendors we're choosing. When it comes to some of the dry goods, like nuts or dried fruit, for example, they always come in sort of like big plastic bags, but that's inevitable because there's no way to have those products delivered safely without that packaging. The way we deal with that is we work with a company called Precycle, which is able to recycle soft plastics.
Okay.
And then a lot of the vendors, like for example, our tofu vendor, they bring us tofu in a 5-gallon bucket, and then they take it back for use.
Right.
So again,
They just
that's
kind of
fully
deliver
sort
it,
of a
you take it
circle.
out, and then they bring it back.
Exactly. Yeah. So these are the vendors we prioritize. Some items also come in just the individual packagings, but they have to be compostable,
Hmm.
garden compostable. That's the
Right.
criteria.
Yeah, that makes sense. All right. So we are technically still at the beginning of the year. Can you talk to us about the biggest maybe challenge or something that you're the most excited about for the business going into 2023?
It's actually one of the same. It's the new location. Actually, two locations technically, and we're also trying to scale the delivery business. So they're both great challenges and also very exciting to work on. That's a short answer.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, yeah, expanding business opportunities and locations in 2020. That I mean, that's very exciting. Also huge,
Exactly. I
as you
think,
said, challenge.
yeah, we're just trying to make sort of this zero waste more accessible to more people in New York City and more convenient and just easier to manage so that it's one thing to offer these choices to customers who have that time and commitment, but another thing is to actually offer this to pretty much everybody and showing them that it's just as simple as going to a regular grocery store. I think that's an enormous challenge, and that's where we can make the most impact.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, changing consumer behaviors on a large scale is a huge deal. It's a huge challenge. So good luck to you for 2023. I will be interested. We'll touch
Thank
back at the
you.
end of the year to see how it's gone. So three
Thank
questions
you.
that we ask all of our merchant guests. Your biggest success to date in your entrepreneurship journey, and you have not just one venture under your belt. Biggest failure to date, and then the most important lesson you've learned to date.
Hmm. Um, my biggest failure, I don't see failures for failures. I think that every failure is an opportunity to learn something, and I've had plenty. Nothing really major, but you always learn from them, so I don't really see it as a negative necessarily thing. Biggest success, I think being able to push through pandemic and keep the team safe, and that was, I think that's a big achievement. I'm very, very proud of that, and my team as well. What was the third question?
Most important lesson.
Most important lesson. Oh, in terms of business related, I think I was a little bit romanticizing going into Precycle. How it's gonna work. I think it's. I realized that it's important to make it easy for everybody to shop zero waste, and I think that's where we're headed.
Yeah. Okay. And if you could get about 85% of the world to adopt a single behavior or stop doing a single behavior, what would that be?
I want to say the water bottle, but unfortunately, that's not possible in many parts of the world. It's just we were so lucky and privileged to have access to clean water that we can drink. It's not the case in many countries, so sometimes it's a necessary evil sort of to buy that water bottle in the plastic. But I think what everybody can do maybe is just bring your own bag whenever possible. I think that's a very simple swap. Um, and I think that could also create an enormous impact. I see it in New York City after the plastic bag ban. When was
Hmm.
it? 2020, I believe. You don't see the plastic bags floating on trees and streets as much anymore. It's definitely a lot less. So I think that can create a big impact.
Mm-hmm. We'll have to. I have been to New York a couple times since 2020, since that ban, but I haven't. I need to look out for that. So for you, it's made a marked difference, cutting down on the plastic bag waste. Okay.
Yes, I believe it did.
All right. And then the last question, where can we find you in real life and virtually?
So you can find us on precyclenyc.com or in Bushwick. Our address is 50 Cypress Avenue. The new store will be in Prospect Heights. Address is 593 Vanderbilt Avenue. It's sort of like closer to Prospect Park. It's a lovely area. And soon in Essex Market.
So when is the Prospect Park location opening up this year? Do you have a date yet?
Well, we're shooting for March.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, so very soon.
Yeah, very
We're
soon. Still
gonna,
Q1.
yes,
Oh,
it's
well,
exciting.
congratulations ahead of time. Yeah, that is very exciting. Katerina, thank you so much.
Thank
It's
you
been
very
a real
much.
pleasure to talk to you. Thank you to everyone in the audience, and we'll see you on B1.